So sometimes you have your sins and like kind of
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and get started. I simplified my slide deck for those of you who attended my previous information session. It used to be a lot longer. I used to talk a lot more. I decided to shorten it, condense it, give you just the bare information, and then let your peers tell you about their experience as those partners. So we can just go ahead and get started. A few housekeeping notes. I'm recording the session via Zoom. So that those who missed the session, and there's a few students who are interested in study abroad but had class and a class conflict, so I'm recording it for them. And then, of course, thank you guys for coming and thank you for your interest in study abroad. Other than this session, we'll have plenty of opportunities, to connect. You guys know where my office is. You know how to reach me if you have any questions. We're always here to answer them. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the agenda today, I'll cover a little bit about what is long-term study abroad. All of you here already know what it is, but it's going to be helpful reminders. How does it work? What can you expect? Where can you go in the world? The list of partners. I sort of group the partners by sort of differences and similarities in terms of semester structure. And then we'll talk about eligibility of the application process. I have a very helpful to-do list to do sort of what to do March and April, May and June and July, etc. So that would be as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about timelines, and then we'll dive into partners, who they are, what sort of what semester you can study in at those dates. And then we'll close with our student presenters that are here tonight and that will tell us about their experience. All right, so kicking off with introductions. So GWSP is partnered with 20 business schools around the world. They're all top business schools in their areas of expertise, and they very much complement GW in terms of their sort of what they offer. Many of those are not offered here at GW, and that's why we partner with them. That's why we targeted those partners specifically, so that they can offer something complementary to our students' degree programs. They will offer a vast network, so you'll be able to network with not only students from GW also studying at that institution, but also students from all around the world. So you're in the class very much with students from all around the world. You're able to network with all types of people in different walks of life. There's, of course, a diversity in subject areas that are offered, in themes, faculty expertise, and methods of instruction. For example, some partners are focused on case study method, like IPADE. Some other partners have project-based teaching, like Maastricht. So they depend, each institution has their specialty when it comes to teaching and instruction. So let's do an overview of long-term study abroad. Long-term study abroad is a full term of study, so that either a fall or a spring. You can transfer up to 15 credits into your general elective courses. Classes are taught in English. You don't have to worry about having local language expertise. They offer, there's various business-related topics for most of the institutions. There's a few institutions that are a little bit more wider, like in terms of offering, like National University and Shaanxi University, that may have more, like GW. There's a business school. There's a Elliott School for International Affairs, and so on and so forth. So you may have a little bit more variety in those institutions. But typically, most of them would offer business-related topics. Tuition is paid at GW, so you won't owe anything at the partner. So that means that if you have a payment plan at GW, that would still apply. If you have scholarships, fellowships, student loans, that will still apply to your billing, as long as, of course, there's no restrictions on it. Like if there's a given scholarship that doesn't specifically cover study abroad. But most of the funds will transfer to will pay your tuition for study abroad program. What to expect? So you want to have 6 to 9 credits in unused general or GWSP elective credit space. So what that means is that you want to look at your degree map. Your degree map will tell you, it walks you through your degree program. It tells you all the core classes you need to take, whether they're still incomplete, in progress, or completed. It also tells you if you need general elective credits. So usually they'll say, okay, you need 12 GWSB electives, and it will list all of the electives that would apply to that requirement. So that's what I mean by GWSB elective credit space. When you see general elective credit space, that means that your degree map is telling you that you can take perhaps 3 credits across the university. So you can take basically anything. You can take art, you can take philosophy, and it'll count towards that requirement. So that's why it's important to see the difference between the general elective credit and the GWSB elective credit, because GWSB is all business-related electives. So you'll have to pass all of your coursework with the GWB equivalent. I have all of the B equivalent listed on each of the brochures. So you want to make sure to familiarize yourself with the grading system of each of those institutions, so you match their, you of course do everything you have to do in the syllabus, make sure to pass your classes, and then you'll be able to transfer all those credits into your degree program. So you also want to have approval for credit transfer from your academic advisor. You cannot do a study abroad program without your academic advisor's approval. So you have to have a conversation with them already, and then talk about when you want to study abroad, where you want to study abroad, and what type of classes you want to transfer into your degree program. And one final note, you cannot take core classes abroad. Why that is? The sort of stipulations around exchanges is that there's a lot of flexibility. So that's why we say you have to take general elective credits, because it's a core requirement, you need that to graduate. So if you are going to edX business school and then you need a requirement and that class fills up at edX and you're not able to take it, that means you jeopardize your graduation. That means you have to come back to DW and then take that requirement. So that's why we do not allow students to take core classes. There's only a few, very, very, very few exceptions to this rule. Last thing I remember is when the formerly known as MTA program, Masters in Tourism Administration, sort of had a curriculum revision. Some of those students didn't have the core classes available anymore, so they were allowed to take it at a partner school and transfer it in as a core classes. That's the only example I can think of. Usually all of your core classes will have to be fulfilled here at GW. Where can you go? So here is a list of all of our partners. I have all the logos listed on the slide here, and then I have a few slides where I'll circle some of them depending on, I can't move. Oh, this one? Oh, perfect. So I have the list, all of our partners here, they're all outstanding. And then there's a few that are MBA only. So if you are an MS student, so let it be in our different specialized master's programs, you cannot go to these these schools, because the exchanges is specifically like an MBA exchange, so there are MBA classes that are offered. So IAE Business School in Argentina, Melbourne Business School in Australia, which is right there, and a couple more. University of Cape Town in South Africa, and then IPADE Business School in Mexico City. So if IPADE Business School, if you're a specialized master's, you could still go to IPADE Business School, but I'll have to just make sure that your resume matches the profile of the cohort at IPADE. So they actually require at least 2 years of professional experience to match the cohort. So I'll just have to check that, but specialized masters can apply for the IPADE program. And then we have, unfortunately, a couple of our partners where we have active partnerships with them at the graduate and undergraduate level, but we can't currently send students there because of some travel restrictions at the State Department level, at the university level. So those partners are AUC, which is the American University in Cairo in Egypt, and Koç University in Istanbul in Turkey. So those two, again, we're active. We have active partnerships. We have other ways in which we collaborate with them. Actually, during the COVID era, we would have like virtual exchange with those two, but now that in-person has resumed, we still are pretty much bound by the university travel embargo. So those two destinations are out of the running, at least for the next academic year. Every year we have risk management revise all of the travel advisories around the world, and I'm sure that's going to get revised. And then, so these might be offered probably in the next, academic year, depending on whether things got a little bit better. Okay, so what does the structure look like? So for the semester, you can study abroad either in the fall or spring. There's no study abroad programs in the summer, at least not for term exchange. You can do a short-term program in the summer. Language courses do not count towards your transfer. So you can take Italian, French, German, those, language classes at the partner, but you won't be able to transfer them into your degree program. So of course, you're welcome to take them for your own expertise. Business-related topic, like I was telling you about the previous slide, will transfer towards GW business electives. And I have that detailed on the petition transfer credit slide. But that means that if you're taking luxury brand management, it'll count towards management. If you're taking supply chain management, right, it'll count towards management. General topics count towards general electives. So let's say in your degree program, and I don't think that's the case, but it allows you to take a general elective credits across the university, and you want to take, for example, a basket weaving class. That will count towards your general elective because it's not a business elective, so it won't count towards your GWSB elective. So that's the distinction there. Again, most of the GWSB degree programs don't have general elective credit space. They only have GWSB elective credit space. All right, eligibility and consideration. In terms of eligibility, you're eligible as long as you're a graduate business student. You want to have 6 to 9 general elective credit space or GWSB elective credit space because that's what you're going to be taking abroad. And then some degree programs that are a little bit more restrictive to study abroad are the ones that I have listed here. So MSF and MSIF, MSBA, MSPM, MSISC, and they're generally STEM degree programs. STEM degree programs are a little bit tricky because you have to take STEM-related electives. So it's not impossible. It's just a little tricky because there are very specific classes that need to be approved that you can take abroad, rather than the others where it's like generally you can take anything that will apply. So again, not impossible, just a little harder. Just in the fall, there was one MSBA student who studied abroad in Sudan. And then I had an MSBM student as well study abroad before. And then I had a multiple STEM degree students also study abroad. So it's not impossible, it's just a little bit harder because your degree program is a little bit more restrictive. Some things that you want to consider and keep in mind as you're thinking about study abroad: regional, national, and sector of exposure. What are you interested in? Are you interested in a specific region of the world? Or interested in a specific country? In a specific way of doing business, perhaps doing business in emerging economies or specific industries. So maybe if you're interested in like the renewable energy sector, that will basically determine which partners will be the better fit for you. You also want to consider additional academic opportunities. Some of the partners may have some additional, I don't want to say extracurricular, but opportunities that are available outside of the classroom for professional development. So you'll have access to career centers in all of those schools. Some of those schools will offer special seminars, like ESSEC has a luxury chair, what do they call it? LVMH chair in the spring semester. That's a highlight for them. University of Cape Town has a symposium in March as well on leadership in Africa. So depending on the partner, they may have some additional events going on when you decide to study abroad there. So that's something else to take advantage of. In terms of finances, you want to think about your budget in terms of the cost of living of where you're going. Because basically studying abroad is basically you're just taking your whatever you will spend on housing, on transportation, meals in the DC area, wherever you're going to study abroad. So you want to think about how much rent is, or where do you want to live for the semester. And you want to look at the cost of flights, for example, to get there. And that's the only cost that you will basically have out of pocket for long-term abroad. It's just your personal travel and living expenses for the term. So those are the things that you want to start looking at. On the brochure, I have an estimate. Most of those numbers, the partners provided them to me based on their own estimates, but there's inflation, things change. So you always want to do your own research and see what you can find out about prices. Time frame. Time frame is very important when you're thinking about study abroad because you want to know what your expected graduation date is. When are you expected to graduate? You want to have a sense of your core requirements. Some core requirements are only offered in specific terms. So So if you have a core requirement that's offered in the fall and you miss the first fall, that means you have to take it in the following fall. You can't be abroad. So those are the things that you want to start thinking about so you plan adequately for your term abroad. And then, of course, you want to think about career development and networking opportunities to make basically enhance your resume as much as possible so that when you come back from study abroad, you have talking points to talk to prospective employers and companies. All right, here's a helpful to-do list to do what you want to start thinking about already. So in February, March, you all want to browse through our list of partners. I have the QR code here to access the website directly. You want to identify 2 to 3 partners that you're interested in, or maybe it's going to be one that's like the one that you fall in love with. But 2 or 3. Review what's on the brochure, the list of offerings. Some of them, if they have their list of classes already, I put it on the brochure. Some others, they update it later on in the semester, but I'll keep updating as I get information from them. Already start looking at all the information included. And then you want to submit your application and GW Passport by March 16th. March 16th is the Sunday after spring break. So it gives you plenty of time. You still have, a month to talk about your interests leading up to the deadline. In the application, you have to submit a professional headshot. You want to make sure you have a nice photo and a professional bio in there. Update your resume, because that's something actually I was thinking about that because I just finished reviews for the short-term programs, and some students, it's a quick application, so you tend to submit an old resume. In really competitive applications, I look at that resume. If it doesn't fit the part, I file the application away. So if you're really interested in a partner, especially the ones, I'm going to go over the ones who do look at professional experience. You want to polish your resume as much as possible, add any updated information in there, and then upload it into your application. And then write a compelling statement of purpose. I was telling another student that some of these partners are pretty competitive because I don't have that many spots. Like for many of our partners, like CBS, I have quite a few spots. I have 3, 4, sometimes more. For other partners like Melbourne and Australia, I have 1 spot. So if there's 3 people who want that 1 spot, then it makes it a lot more competitive. So just make sure to write a compelling statement of purpose as to why that partner is important to you, what the country means to you, what the industry or sector means to you, so that to give you the best chance of getting that spot. All right, so you also want to schedule a meeting with me to talk about your interests in general. On the website, I have interview with GNEE, which is our protocol. So any students that I don't meet with, so if I've not met with you and you submit an application, I will schedule something. And that's just a discussion to review your interest, your degree map, so to look at what your expected graduation date is, and to make sure that partner that you chose is the right fit. So that's what that conversation is. It's nothing formal and nothing that you have to worry too much about it. You want to schedule a meeting with your academic advisor. You see that the deadline is March 16th, and we're going into summer registration in the next couple of weeks. So you want to schedule that earlier rather than later before they get busy, so that you can talk about your plans to study abroad, and then they can look at your degree map and then walk you through the steps. And then just, review your degree map, your graduation plans, core requirements, and then the partner semester timelines. You want to know if you're exploring a specific partner. You want to know when the semester starts, when it ends, and then when you can expect to get your credits transferred to get you cleared for graduation. In April and May, you'll be nominated. So once you commit to your study abroad program, I will nominate you with GW endorsement to the partner. At that point, you're going to start getting communications directly from them. So that's when I usually take a step back, and then I let the partner work with you to get you enrolled on their end. So they'll need a bunch of documents from you to get you into their system, enrolled as a student. So please make sure to be professional in all your communications with them. Review all the information that they provide, make sure to read everything properly and take action as needed, and respect their deadlines. Because if they ask you to do something, to submit something, and you miss it, and they cancel your exchange, there's nothing I can do. You need to respect their deadlines. Then you want to review the course schedule. Some of them will have it already available. Some others comes in later on in the summer. You want to make sure to review the course schedule, start and end for the semester. If they have a finals week, like Bocconi has a finals week, you want to be aware of that as well. You want to be aware of orientation dates, so you know when to arrive in the country. You also want to research the visa application process. I cannot apply for the visa for you. You have to do it yourself. So you want to know which student visa you need to apply for. I know the student visa for France is very annoyingly complicated. So that's something that you already want to start researching and making sure that you understand everything that you need to submit for the visa application. And then tell us how many credits you intend to enroll in. Because once with that information, we will enroll you in a placeholder course called Exchange 0235 for the exact number of credits that you want to transfer. If you want to transfer 6 credits, you tell me, or 9 credits, you tell me, and then I register you for the fall or the spring in those number of credits. It triggers your tuition, keeps you active as a student, and then everything billing related is applied to those that tuition. And then in terms of what's going to be listed on your transcript at the end is whatever courses you're transferring in. When you transfer in the courses, that's what's going to be listed on your resume. All right, now June and July, you're going to be completing this form, which is a petition to transfer credits. This is where you'll basically be indicating how you want all of your courses to transfer into your degree program. So I listed here all of the courses that are available for transfer. So accountancy, international business, decision sciences, strategic management and public policy, marketing, tourism and tourism administration, management, finance, and ISDM. That's it. No other codes will be included. That includes MBAT 6290. You can't transfer anything towards MBAT 6290. And then you can't transfer towards non-GWSB electives. So that's the case for students who have dual degrees with other schools. You can't count this towards your electives for that other school because it'll only count towards GWSB. Yes.
What about if I've done my plan of study and some of the courses are not over there? So
your plan of study? Yes.
So I'm intending to go for spring 2026.
Yes.
So I have courses for spring 2026. So I don't know what was the certainty that what I have already is I can transfer it over there.
Well, you basically for spring 2026, there's 2 things that you want to watch out for. Number 1, again, you want to make sure to review a degree plan to make sure that you're taking all of your core requirements for your study abroad program, number 1. Number 2, you want to make sure that you have some flexibility in terms of what you need to take in the spring when you're studying abroad. You want to take general elective credits because if there's anything that you're required to take, you can't take that abroad. So you can make your plan of study and basically enter the number of list all the courses you're going to take at GW. For a term abroad, you'll just basically put how many credits you want to transfer for that term, if that makes sense. Okay, so for the petition, let's see. You will be prompted to enroll at the partner once they open enrollment. So their enrollment will be different than GW. So GW fall enrollment starts somewhere in April. A school like Bocconi, not until July, I think even August. So depending on the partner where you're going, the registration will be much later or much earlier. So whatever your expectation is, you want to make sure to understand that all the partners have different timelines. So on the petition, you want to make sure you want to enter your name, your degree program, the partner institution, your GWID, semester of exchange, sign and date, and then here's where you would put the name of the courses you're taking abroad. So your question is actually good. It's a good question because you wouldn't be doing this for spring 26 because it's too early. Spring 26 right now is your priority application. So you'll basically be starting on petition transfer credits later in the fall because that's closer to when your departure date. For those who are going in the fall, you have to fill this out now because you'll need that information to be approved by your academic advisor to fully approve your exchange.
Sorry. Are you saying for spring I can't start yet?
So for spring, you want to submit your application now. That way I consider you priority because for spring, when the review is between the deadline March 16th, and then I release the decisions on March 26th. So you would already know that you're in for study abroad. Because the deadline for spring exchange is not until September, but if you wait until September, maybe the partner where you want to go won't be available anymore. So the earlier you apply, the better. So you want to indicate the partner course that you're taking. Again, you're taking supply chain management, you write that there with the different course information, and then you want to write in the GW equivalent. Again, the equivalents are right there, 6290, the course title, and then your advisor will sign up. For August and September, you will be traveling to your destination and start your classes. If there's any changes, so if you get there and then maybe there's one course that's canceled because of low enrollment or XYZ, you can enroll in another class and then submit an updated petition, get it signed by your advisor, and then send it to me so I have it on file. And then you go, you enjoy your time there, you eat some really good food. When you're done, you send us your transcript, make sure to pass all those classes. We get it transferred and then you're done. Once I get your transcript, then I take care of all of the transfer credit. And then I basically ping your advisor to update your degree map and clear you for graduation if this is your last semester. All right, some final notes before I pass it on to our student presenters. All courses petition for transfer must be signed by your academic advisor. So that petition, again, is very important. Courses that do not impact your GPA. So if you have a 3.0 GPA at the end of the spring semester and you go in the fall, that GPA won't change because your courses only transfer towards your credits, not your GPA. So it's very important that you have your GPA already at 3 because that's what you need to graduate from GWSB. If it's lower than that, it won't help you to turn to study abroad because it won't impact your GPA. You'll have to stay at GW to take classes that count towards your grade in order to raise your GPA. Course count towards your active status. So if you're an international student, you need to enroll in 9 credits that will be transferring for the semester you're studying abroad. And then that will keep your CVIS active at GW for that term. And then the syllabus and itinerary will be provided by the partner school. For finances and tuition, as I mentioned earlier, you only pay tuition for the credits you transfer. So if you're taking 9 credits, you only pay tuition for 9 credits. Now at the partner, you might take more. You might take a language class, you might take additional classes, but it's basically taking a bunch of classes for free. You only pay for what you're transferring for. Let's see, you only pay at GW, so you don't owe any tuition to the partner. You want to budget for your lodging and travel expenses, and then connect with an inbound exchange. If you're considering fall, connect with the students who are coming here at GW for the fall, because they often need lodging. It's hard for them to have a lease because they're only here for a semester. So it's perfect because you're outbound the semester when they're inbound. So if you have a long-term lease and you need a sublet, contact us and then we'll put you in touch with one of the students who are coming in for the fall. So as I mentioned, anything, because it is listed on your e-bill, any payment plan that you sign up for will apply. Any scholarships and any awards will still apply. Watch out for any regulations that are changed out of the Department of Education, especially for loans and how federal loans can be used. That is probably going to change. So you want to make sure to keep an eye on that when you're thinking about your finances. And then those ones will be out of pocket, as I mentioned before, flight, lodging, meals, and transportation. Yes.
Is it that FAFSA can pay for? So
The FAFSA?
Yeah.
Technically, FAFSA pays for anything that's tuition related. So if you're enrolled in 9 credits of tuition, FAFSA will pick up 9 credits of tuition. Technically. No, this is out of pocket. This is out of pocket. So this is something that you have to put on your personal expenses. I don't know. When I studied abroad, no, I think I had some money left over after I paid tuition and then they reimbursed me the rest, which I used for travel, but that's, I don't know if that changed. It's been a while. Okay, so. Okay, yes, I X'd out Egypt and Turkey since we're not recruiting for those 2 partners. So what partners have condensed terms? Condensed term meaning their semesters are shorter than the GW terms. I have IAE Business School, Melbourne, CUHK, yes, their fall I think starts in September, ends in November. ESSEC Business School has trimesters, so they're shorter than the GW semester. TAU, Korea University Business School. I like their spring semester because it starts in March, I think, and it ends in like May or something like that. So it's pretty short. IPADE also has, they actually don't have fall. They only have their winter term, which is January to March and then April to June. Maastricht also has like, I think an 8 or 9 week term. And Graduate School of Business in South Africa. Switzerland, I have it in yellow because the MBAs would have their, and Tram is here to talk about Switzerland. The MBA program is shorter, but the specialized master's program will be the entire semester. That's why I have it in yellow. Yes, give me 1 second. I'll go through the 2 slides and then we can open up for questions. Okay. Oh yeah. No, there's just one more slide and then I'll pass it on to our presenters. All right, so what partners are only offered in the spring? So these partners, Korea, Mexico, and I think there's one more, South Africa. They only have exchange in the spring semester, so you can't go there in the fall. South Africa, they actually do have it in the fall, but they said they don't have a lot of electives for exchange students in the fall. So they prefer you coming in the spring because they have more exchange or courses geared for exchange students in the spring semester. You had a question?
You said some partners
Mhm.
can go for certain semesters.
Yes.
That's one.
Mhm.
Then some partners don't of MSIB.
Yes.
So some partners are for MBAs only. So how do I identify those partners?
Yeah, on the previous slide, I had the partners that were restricted to MBA students. All the other ones are open for MS students.
Are we gonna get the slide?
Yes. All right, so what partners offer short-term programs? So short-term programs are not, if you can't go for an exchange for whatever reason and you're like, I still want to do something, there are some partners who do have short programs, either in the winter break, spring break, which are, there actually a few students who are going on spring break programs and throughout the summer. So we have CBS, Audencia, EDEC and ESSEC, Grenoble as well, WHU in Germany, IPADE at Mexico and Taiwan, TCU. So those partners have short-term programs. If you can't do a semester, these are the partners that you can opt to do a short-term program in the spring or the summer. And then finally, what partners require at least 2 years of experience? IAE Business School in Argentina, Melbourne Business School in Australia, and IPADE Business School in Mexico City. Those ones do require years of experience. So those are the partners where I'll look a little bit closer at the resume. That's why I said update your resume to give you the best chances. Oh yes, and GSB also requires professional experience. Okay, great. So that was a lot of me talking. Now we'll pass it on to our student presenters who will tell us about where they studied, you know, what the pros and cons were, what they enjoyed, didn't enjoy, and then we will open it up for questions at the end. So any questions like for like the stuff that I covered, generally speaking, before we pass it on? I'm still here, so don't worry. Okay, so yes, go ahead while I'm setting up.
Not like something like how, like Sunday or
I would say the sooner the better. Sooner is better. Yeah, sooner the better. So might as well start. I think I got your presentations first, so I'm gonna start with it. Yeah. I'm trying to put it. Is this okay? I don't know how to put it in like full screen mode.
Yeah, PDF is a little tricky. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll just scroll down.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now I'll pass it on to Pam here. Oh, yes, you have a question.
Asking her how like management classes or who should I take some people to a long time in the spring. But she told me to reach out to study or whatever. Okay, so we just have to become like plan a meeting.
Yes, yeah, you can sign up for a meeting with me and then I can, so you can talk about your degree program, all your requirements, and then we can review the time. Okay, yeah. All yours.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Very nice to meet you. My name is Tram. And this past fall, I went to Switzerland. This is actually trickier than I thought. So about me, I'm a GMBA class of 2025. So this is my last semester. I'm also in a STEM degree. I didn't say it there, but I have to jump through the STEM hoops to go to Switzerland. And why did I pick the University of St. Gallen? St. Gallen is about an hour from Zurich. It's eastern Switzerland, so it's about 30 minutes from Germany. So in Switzerland, they speak 3 different languages. They speak German near Germany, Italian near Italy, and they speak French. And so they actually don't have like Swiss language. So depending on where you live, that's what you speak. And so St. Gallen is very close to Germany. And the University of St. Gallen is one of the best business schools in Europe. They focus on consulting and finance. That's their focus. I also was intrigued by this thing called the ISP program that I'll talk more about, but it's an MBA only program. It's more of an MBA cohort. So it's very similar if you do an MBA here at GW. So I was intrigued by the cohort concept, but also it's very like comprehensive, which I'll talk more about in a bit. So on that note, USG, or they call it SSG or Heisge. So I'll refer to it Heisge, which is how they refer it. It's a research university. So your professors are like top researchers in their field, usually in Europe. And the academic director of the MBA program actually spent like 15 years here and is very, very good at what he does. And so you're in for a good academic experience at least. So there are 2 options to do exchange at Heisge. You can do like a standard exchange like everybody else is the whole semester. You come there at the beginning or middle of September. It goes all the way until like before Christmas. So it's a whole experience. Or you can do what I did, which is a 10-week program, very intense, condensed, kind of like a prolonged boot camp / case competition, really fun, really engaging. And they take you to businesses around Switzerland. So I'll talk more about it, but I went a lot of places, and they also hook you up with their career center, which is also very good because they are very great if you're ever wanting to find a career in Europe or just wanting to pivot within your MBA experience. They're really good about advising. I really got a lot out of that. And I think it costs like $150 a session. And so the ISP paid for the whole thing, which is nice. Because everything costs money in Switzerland. It's not free. So the ISP specifically, so from this point on, I'll refer more about the ISP because that's my experience. But I would say like the exchange, like the center exchange is not that different in terms of offerings of classes. So ISP, this is us at our cultural dinner. We had fondue, which is a very Swiss thing to have. It's melted cheese with vegetables, which is very expensive because they pour a bottle of wine there. But what is great about ISP is that they're very condensed. So you have classes from 8 to 6 every day, from Monday to Thursday. So think like long discussions, long cases. You're in there, you're doing school, but you'll have Fridays off. So you have 3-day weekends, the whole entire experience. So we travel a lot together, me and my classmates. There are only 23 of us. And so you get close to people, kind of like you do here in the cohort. And then you just travel together and do all things together. We also have a 1-week fall break that you can use to travel as well. So you're there for 10 weeks and 1 week is actually, well, you're there for 11 weeks and 1 week is traveling. So it's 10 weeks of study. We went a lot of places in terms of company visits. I think it was 8 companies in total, including the UN, Nestle, and local startups. This is at Frontify, which is now in like 6 different countries, including the US, and they're pretty cool. So if you're interested in also exploring careers in Europe, this is a good program to do that because you do visit companies. And the last thing is, as I mentioned, classes discussion-based format. And everybody is an MBA. So that's a unique part of it. And there are also 2 students who are from Heisge. So they sign up specifically to be in this program for the semester. The credits transfer. And they're there to provide a more Swiss perspective to all your classes. So there is a Swiss student in our class. The other student actually is Greek. But she has been living there for a while, so she also had a good Swiss perspective. What was my life like outside of school? Because that was a lot of school. 86 is a lot of school. So I didn't travel as many places as some of my peers did, but I kind of like the idea of spending a little bit more time in each place. I just kind of like to wander and make friends. So I spent 3 months in total abroad and went to Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Italy, and then Czechoslovakia. So usually I did that on my 3-day weekends, but also took, I had 1 week of fall break, and also the classes are in modules. So they're actually like a week and a half long. So in a week and a half, you finish a whole entire course and you take finals and you're done, which is kind of nice because you don't have to go through the whole thing all semester. So I had a course that I didn't have to take, investment banking, I think. And so I actually had a 12-day break. So I went kind of across Eastern Europe, and that was really fun. We went to the Zurich Christmas market near Christmas. We went to many weekend trips together. Zermatt, which is a very great skiing spot in Switzerland, Lugano, Zurich, many more. And I don't know what happened there. I probably forgot to fill it up. But another thing that I did was that I love Friendsgiving. I've been hosting one since I graduated college, and so I hosted one for our cohort the day before we graduated, which is crazy timing because we were so busy graduating from it. But it was like 30 people, and they were introduced to Thanksgiving, which is a very, American holiday, and it was food from all around the world. We had Indian food, Bangla food, Chinese food, Vietnamese food, because I'm from Vietnam. And I even made turkey because you have to have that. And someone even volunteered for mashed potatoes. So to end up my portion, some things about Switzerland. Firstly, housing. They do provide on-campus housing, and I do really recommend getting on it early because it is expensive in Switzerland if you don't have on-campus housing. It is much more affordable if you can get on their system and pay what they offer. But usually they close like an hour after they open because it's very competitive. So I would set an alarm like 3 times and get on it because I think my rent was actually cheaper than rent in DC, which is a big reason why I went. Exactly. But it is close to school, is really well organized, supply for, and it's a great option to get on campus housing. If you stay in Switzerland for longer than 90 days, you have to register with the government. So make sure that that is something you start the process right away when you get there. You don't want to stay there longer than a week without doing that. They're just really strict about that. Like I said, I utilized the Career Center at high school. I met with the career coach twice, and she was great. And pretty much like revamped my whole profile to get into a new sector that I was interested in. So I would do that if I were you. Lots of networking events in this little city of St. Gallen. Bain was there, McKinsey was there, all the banks were there, Swiss banks, of course. So if you're interested in that sector, Heisge is a good option. I would say always update people on how your time is going, because I think people are intrigued when you come back about, like when you're applying for jobs or when you are sort of just building your network again, because I feel like you miss out, quote unquote, on like 4 months of being in DC and doing your DC MBA or grad school experience. So kind of keep people updated on what you've been up to. And the last thing is, I always like to study a new language when I go somewhere. And so I took German, even though it was not transfer over back to GW. And I'm still on Duolingo to keep it up. And that was a huge part of my experience, was immersing in the literature. Yeah, and last thing, tribute to Brad, who's my cohort, because I was not gonna apply because I'm like, it's scary to go abroad for like an extended period of time. And it's also expensive, and it's also like all these different things. But he was texting me every day, like asking me if I applied. So, and we both went, which is pretty much our highlights of the experience at GW. So I'm happy to be a resource in any way, coffee, lunch, anything. This is my email if you're interested in talking more. But yeah, thanks everybody.
Oh, yes, yeah, thank you so much for that. And yeah, I know we're closer to the time, so if you have to go out because you have class, feel free, but Caitlin, you can go next, and then, because I have yours already pulled up here, and then Brad, I have yours under here as well. I'm trying to like get rid of this. I know there's a way to make it bigger, but I can't remember.
Adobe. I don't usually use Adobe
Yeah.
Acrobat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can just scroll.
Yeah, scroll up. And Pam actually had a really good point about travel in the Schengen area, because when you study abroad in the Schengen area, it gives you access to the rest of the area, so you can, use your weekends to see other countries. So another big prop for St. Gallen. So our second presenter here is going to talk about her experience at Bocconi.
Hey, yeah, so studied at Bocconi, which was in Milan. So I actually lived with an AMBA, Alvin. We met because there was a Dartmouth MBA that was also going to Bocconi, and he reached out, and I saw there was a GW email, and I was like, no way. So we ended up rooming, and now we're like great friends. So Bocconi is very project-based. So your classes, there's very different from GW. There's no homework. You have one project. They give you end of September, beginning of October, and you have till December to finish it. And it's a team project. And it's really comprehensive. And what's nice is like each week you're kind of supposed to work through it based on like what class you're learning. And then the final, which the final is worth about 70% of your grades. So I think the hardest transition for me was like, you do have to keep yourself accountable since there's no homework. You really do have to like keep up with classes. Another thing that's different is you get to choose if you're an attending or a non-attending student. So if you're attending, you have to show up to 70% of the classes and do the team project in the final. But say you don't feel like showing up to class, you can do non-attending, which I don't really recommend because it was nice to actually meet people. But you don't have to show up to any class, and you show up to the final in December, and that is 100% your grade. So you can if you want. I know a few people that did it, but I met a lot of people in it, and there's really great professors. Bocconi, it's a world-renowned business school. As an MBA, you do have the option to take some MBA classes within the cohort. For me personally, you can only take it with the first year MBA. So it was classes that we already took, like data analysis, marketing, finance, and like I didn't really want to retake it personally. So I decided to just take master's electives. I really liked them. Social media marketing strategy. Basically, we came up with a project of you had to pick a company and basically revamp their entire social media strategy. She had a lot of talks from different companies, which was really cool. And it was more strategy based, which was really interesting. Next was management of fashion and luxury companies. That one was, so Milan's like the fashion capital of the world. So I wanted to take advantage of it. That was classes actually only for exchange students. And it's from, she is a chairhead in the luxury sector. So it was really cool. And she brought in a lot of guest speakers like Dolce & Gabbana, Flower, Dior, all throughout the semester, which was really fun. And then movie industry, it's more about like the financial aspects of movie industry. The professors, I think, yeah, the one professor was the producer for the movie Juno and all the Hangover movies. The other professor, he did the financing for the Hangover movies. So it was kind of cool because they got to really present like what they do. There are a lot of internship opportunities that they offer throughout the semester, but you do have to speak full Italian. So, which makes sense, it's all in Milan. So, but yeah, you do have to speak fluent. It was optional, it was 200 euros extra. You could take an Italian crash course, and it's 2 weeks before the semester starts. Personally, I took it, and so did my roommate Alvin. So you have to move in 2 weeks early, but at the same time, it was nice because it was all for exchange students. So you got to meet everyone around the world. I met like my core group of friends just from that crash course. So that was really awesome. I will say some schools require it. So there's an exam at the end. And so a lot of it wasn't really teaching the culture. It was more about how to pass that exam, which I didn't really appreciate. So I stayed on Duolingo kind of just because it was more exam based and I didn't need the course credit for the exam. Yeah, so for housing, I was on my plane home from CAP when the housing came out for on campus, so I missed out on it completely, which would have caused a lot less stress, but that's okay. I use Spot Home. I really liked it. I know a lot of people actually kind of got scammed. My one friend did Airbnb. It was a complete scam. My other friend did Facebook Marketplace, complete scam. So I did Spot Home. Basically, it's $250 fee. You pay Spot Home the first month's rent and the security deposit. You show up when you move in. You have 2 days to say, hey, this apartment looks like it. We'll take it. Or if it looks nothing like it and maybe it's a scam, you get all your money back. So it was kind of a safety net. I thought the $250 was worth it personally. It did kind of take a while. Like I looked all summer basically for housing because a lot of places don't just want 3 to 4 months. So I would start early. I didn't start till like June or July just because CAP was busy, but I probably should have started in May looking back. But we got a 2-bedroom. We both want our own bedrooms and it was a really nice apartment. I sublet my apartment here. I found someone on Facebook to take my room. So Milan rent is a lot cheaper. I paid around $800 a month, I think. And my rent here is $1,500. So I was pocketing nice money so I could travel. Yeah. So life in Milan. Actually, my Hannah came to visit me at one point for a weekend trip. It's the fashion capital of the world. So you have all the different, Dior, Prada, all that stuff. They have the famous Duomo. It's a very business-centric city, which I kind of liked living in DC. Like you kind of get that sense of home a little bit because it's a lot of finance and Bocconi is such a big business school that like everyone kind of stays around there. But also since it's very like business heavy, it's really international. Like I had some of the best Asian food in my life there, like best sushi, of course pasta, but like I was surprised with the amount of international cuisine. Had a lot of burger joints that were called American and I didn't try them, but it's also really easy to travel there just because it's like there's 3 airports within an hour and a half of Milan and they have shuttles that go every single hour of the day. So it was really cheap, really easy to travel and their train system's amazing. They have all public transportation. Trams are free. Metro you pay for kind of like DC, but they have a student pass that's like €20 a month, I think, which I think is worth. Yeah, and you kind of get like aperitivo, go and get a drink after class, very chill. I only had class Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 1 to 4:15 because the fashion class was remote for the semester because she was traveling around. So I kind of had a lot of free time to travel around Milan, Europe, all that. So yeah, I went to 4 different countries. I actually also went to Africa. I went to Egypt because I saw $100 flight for the weekend. So jet set there. Yeah, it's super duper cheap. Africa, you do need like a different visa, but like you get to the airport and you pay $25 and they give you the visa. So it's really chill. Yeah, travel around Italy, travel around Europe, lots of time. And yeah, I met a lot of people. I actually met a lot of people from DC. I met a Georgetown MBA, Georgetown Masters, all them, there was a lot of connections there. So that was really great. And yeah, a lot of career advancements. I mean, a lot of people reach out when they see Bocconi on your resume, which is really nice. Yeah, I recommend.
I can my deck and I'm like, I need to go to Milan.
Yeah, that's a great.
So some of the short terms on there as well. Do you want me to just skip straight to China?
You can,
Right.
cover whatever you like. Where is? Okay, wait, sorry. I had it open here. Do you want it in the the Google PowerPoint view? Because I downloaded it.
Either way. As long as the pictures and words are there, I can make something out of it.
Let's see.
No,
Yes,
no, it's
yeah, no,
good.
thank you so much for coming.
It's great pictures. I'm jealous. because
Oh, no.
I haven't done Milan.
I recommend. It's a good time.
I should do.
It's also like right next to Lake Como, so
Oh, I know.
you can
Nice.
kind of do both.
Okay, perfect. So I'll talk a little about the short terms too.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, hello everybody. My name is Bradley Whitaker. I convinced Tram apparently to go to Switzerland, so hopefully I can convince you to go somewhere cool as well. I actually did technically 4 different study abroad experiences through GW, through GE&E. I did CAP, which some of you will have to do. But I also did 2 trips to France, and CAP I did Germany, and I did China at the end here. So this picture on the bottom right is me climbing Mount Tai. If you can't tell already, I'm very much about experiences. I love doing things and going out, maybe sometimes outside the classroom and learning there. Mount Tai is where Taoism was invented. It is one of the most sacred mountains in China, if not the most sacred mountain in China. There's a lot of steps, as you can see in that picture. It was very hard to climb up. It took about 4 or 5 hours, but it was a great trip. It was nice and chilly, especially at the top, but it was a very, very beautiful place. This is a list of the events, the CAP GE&E events that I did. I did, again, 2 in France, 1 in Germany, and 1 in China. We're going to actually go over each one, but I recommend if you're interested in long-term study abroad, I know some people did the Morocco one, which just came up. There's some good summer ones. I actually had been slotted to go to Taiwan. I ended up working at Freddie Mac. But yeah, you can set up to do some really awesome things. And there's a lot of flexibility actually once you get into the programs. Obviously, a lot of the nuances that she was talking about where some have condensed periods, some have basically different classes. Even at Fudan, you could be flexible. And if you really wanted, you could go to China probably for 3 months, 2 months, take a lot of classes, and then, kind of coast. But I took the language classes. I recommend if you do a long-term study abroad, take the language classes. All 3 of us did. I imagine the ones that are out there now, 3 of us did it fall, 3 of us did it spring out of the global MBA cohort. So it is a unique experience. The short terms I think are great in that you can kind of go get the experience and come back. If you have time, winter I think is in my opinion is a little better because you have more time. That's the only reason. The winter one, I was actually in France for a month and a half. I rented a car and was able to go to Montpellier, Nice, Monaco, Geneva as well. That was my first time in Switzerland. And really got to learn a lot about the French culture, I went to some amazing places, the Pont d'Avignon, which is a famous bridge, as well as, let's see, Lyon. People went skiing as well into their chalets. There was a téléphérique in Grenoble, and you can kind of go to the top and see a lot of the city. Anyway, there's a whole lot. There's even the Reine de Nimes comes to mind, which is basically Roman Colosseums. People don't know there's a lot of Roman Colosseums outside of Rome. There's some in the south of France. So there's a lot that you can do in the south of France. And I definitely recommend Grenoble for that access to get into Switzerland as well. Furthermore, the classes and the technology management program were all very interesting. One professor definitely stands out. He was a lot about the data and marketing analytics, and it was all about different facial recognition systems, different dynamic pricing systems that companies use. They also took us, furthermore, he had one arm. He was a rock climber. So he had stories of people that had literally died in his arms while they were rock climbing together. So, he's a very interesting professor, definitely a character that stands out in my mind. They took us to Chartreuse, which is like a very specific herbal liqueur that the color Chartreuse is named after, and took us to the distillery. Only like 2 monks in the world know how to make this liquor. So it's a very artificial scarcity kind of situation, and they're concerned about actually maintaining it, given the ecological change that's happening in the mountains in France due to global warming. So another program I did, this one was only a week, still good experience. Went to Paris and Nantes. At that time, I actually went to the Musée of Rodin as well, which is, Rodin was one of the most famous sculptors in French history. I like Camille Claudel a little too. But I think that going to Nantes and Paris is still a great experience. The corporate governance track focuses mostly on not just sustainability and ESG, but how do you govern a corporation properly? So like, how is your boards of directors structured? how are there different decisions made within the business, or is it just centralized power within the CEO? So these are the kind of questions that you actually ask and find answers to in that experience. And so the one in Audencia Nantes, if you're interested in being an executive, if you're interested in as well ESG sustainability, this is the kind of course for you. The one in Grenoble was focused mostly on technology. Briefly, I'll talk about CAP Germany. There was a team of 5 of us. We were working with Impact Hub Berlin, which is a sustainability accelerator in Germany. We went to Berlin and also got to go to Dresden and Hamburg with some of my friends as well. That was my first time in Germany. And that was a great experience to understand a little bit more about German culture, to work with the company and create actionable consulting sort of recommendations for that company, and to, I believe, see them receive our message and understand and integrate our thoughts into their business was really, really powerful. So I definitely think, look forward to CAP. I think you guys already got your team. So are you guys all first year, MBA? Yeah, okay, yeah. So enjoy that. It's a great experience, and make sure you work closely with your business that you're assigned. So, the little bit of time that we have left here, I'll talk about my time in China. I was there August 22nd to January 16th. So I chose to be there about 5 months. China is a very different country, essentially the other side of the world, right, from the US. So a lot of things I'll say are very specific to China. When you get your visa for China, when you are studying there, with the exception of Hong Kong, by the way, let's say just Hong Kong, but Taiwan, I think you have some movement as well. You don't have free movement. So you are kind of stuck in China. You can leave once. So I left once for a week. I went to Japan. I went to Osaka and Tokyo. But for the most part, you want to and are meant to stay in China and get the student experience there, which is fine. Sometimes that's how visas work in different countries. I'm not a visa expert, but I'm sure that's true in various countries around the world. So either way, when you get there, obviously I had to download WeChat, they call it Weixin, and Alipay. Those are kind of the 1 and 2 of what you need. Everything, it's actually very safe. Shanghai, on the bottom right, you can see the picture. Here it's top, bottom right here. So that's the picture of Shanghai. That's the skyline. So in some ways, it kind of feels very futuristic. They take your fingerprints when you go in. They have your facial recognition as you download apps and you accept the terms and technologies, rather than selling your data, perhaps in the US, to the corporation, so the corporation can sell your data. You are giving your data to the government or to quasi-governmental corporations. Corporations are the same distinction between public and private sectors does not exist in China in the same way that it does in the US. So as a man that works in finance, I might argue that there's not so much separation as it may seem in America as well. Evidence the bailouts a few years ago in the financial sector. So basically, Fudan, a few tips about studying abroad in general. You can kind of date up. I'm kind of kidding when I say that, but the ranking of these schools can be very high. Fudan is 36 in the world. That puts it next to the University of Edinburgh, for instance, which is the best university in Scotland. So one of the best. St. Andrews is pretty good. But you can attend school. I mean, a lot of my cohort, there were 40 Europeans, there were 30 Chinese in a MBA cohort that we were kind of linked with, and so 70 of us total. And actually, a lot of the Europeans were from ESSEC, EDHEC. I took courses intentionally with students from HKU, as well as students from Norwegian Business School, and the professors were from those schools as well. The one that comes to mind on this list here for a brief story is the big data consumer analytics one, similar, I guess, to the one in Grenoble, if you think about it too hard. But basically, he would take large amounts of data and crunch that data. So, I talked about data security in the US. He actually bought a cargo container that goes on ships and shipped the data to China. He bought a cargo container, to repeat, he bought a cargo container, like a hardware worth of data, and shipped that on a container to China to do some of his research at HKU.
Hardware?
Yes. So the hardware, it was literally, I think he said it was over 5 petabytes of data. So there's a terabyte, which is a very large amount of data. He took 5 petabytes of data And because that is so much data, he actually had to put that on a cargo container and ship that to China. You cannot do that in China. You cannot buy data. The data is owned by the government. So, you know, it is a very different world. You walk around, many things are run by facial recognition technology. So to get through gates, for instance, get on the metro, you have to scan your face. So I don't know if you've ever been on the DC Metro and seen some people that looked unsavory. That does not happen in China. There are no unsavory people on the metro. Let's just put it that way. And actually, there's metal detectors getting onto every Shanghai metro. And in fact, other cities, most every city had a metro system, and your face was scanned, and they patted you down, and you went through metal detectors to get on the metro. Some Americans might not like that. I like it. At least I know the person next to me doesn't have something on them that could hurt me. And in America, I mean, I just did the trainings on the emergency system in GW, right? We all have to do those trainings by March. I did not have to do those trainings in China. So you know what? Scan my face and put me through a metal detector. At least, you know I'm not going to be hurt by someone, at least with a weapon. So, you know, to each their own. If that's something, it is a lot safer. A lot of my friends that were women were very safe, comfortable walking around at night. There's also a lot of history. I mean, this is a nation that has been one entity for 2,600 years. We've been around for about 300 years. So, you know, they're about 7 or 8 times older than us. And because of the intricacies of their culture that have developed over that time in terms of cuisine, in terms of even like systems, bureaucracies, it was actually the 75th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party while I was there. It actually is a very complex and nuanced technological system that they built, as I was speaking about here as well. So overall, you know, obviously I went through 4 different ones very quickly. The one in China was a very unique experience. I think Asia in general is a great opportunity. Getting outside of the typical European study abroad experience, I think can actually be, for me, a very formative experience. And you learn, I think, more about the world in a way, going somewhere very different than somewhere a little bit more similar, like in the West. Thank you.
Always nice to hear